lovely to see the numbers for the first time for a wee while being over 20. So thank you all for being here. And to all of those who are viewing us on the internet, you of course are also welcome. And I extend a special welcome. Who do you want to know your service?
I've got one, thank you.
Cheers. Let's call people come. Start again in a minute. Who's coming? Oh, they are. Morning. Hello. There's an order of service for you. Well done. Hello, would you like to have a seat? Thank you. Anywhere at all that doesn't have a cord across the tube. In the front there, well, good morning. Take it out box. Right, we'll start again. A very warm welcome to you all, and what a pleasure it is to see so many in the kirk. The numbers of late have been a bit limited. A special welcome to Mike Palmer, who has recovered miraculously from a serious heart attack, so welcome. And of course, Fred, who we keep seeing and keep liking to see. You are welcome again, as usual.
Thank you.
And will lead us through the Remembrance service today, as you have done for many years. And after the service here, we're going to walk up to the cemetery. It's a call in your order of service. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you. Can we stand, please, for the entrance of the Bible? Thank you very much indeed. On this very special day, let us open our worship by thanking God for being our God in ages past, but also in ages yet to come. It's good to have the young ones here. A very warm welcome to you. We hope that you feel at home in the service today. And so let us worship God, asking Nick to lead us into, O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you. Let us pray. How right it is, O God, to always remember those who left home, to engage the enemy on land or at sea or in the air, but never saw their own folk again. How right it is always to honour the fallen. Be very much with those who lost a loved one. And then when our own 11 o'clock silence comes, be very close to them. Even though time has passed, there will still be those who deep in their hearts see a face, know a sorrow. Be very much with them then, O God. Be very much with them. As we now lead up to our 11th hour, O God, may it help prepare us for that stillness, that reflection. Please make sacred to us the words we will now hear from your word, and the meditation we will hear from the minister. For the sake of that Son of yours, who gave his life for us all, we ask this. Amen. Our scriptures are quite brief. From Psalm 139, verses 7 to 12, and then from John 15, verses 12 to 13. Psalm 139, verse 7. Whither shall I go from thy Spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If I ascend to heaven, thou art there. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there thy hand shall lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me. If I say, let only darkness cover me, and the light about me be night, even the darkness is not dark to thee. The night is bright as the day, for the darkness is as light to thee. And then the words of Jesus, John 15:12 and 13. Jesus said, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. And it's good to hear a young voice, because it was the future generations that the generations who went and fought and fell died for. So we are reminded by that nice little reminder. Our very brief meditation, Psalm 139, verse 9. Though I take the wings of the morning. On Remembrance Sunday last year, I told you the story of my brother Jim, who was killed in the last World War in Italy while serving with the Scots Guards. He was 22. Jim had grown up in Spey Bay, where the River Spey flows into the Moray Firth. And as a 19-year-old in 1940, he would have seen the wartime airfield being built in Nether Dalkey, from which bullfighters flew to combat enemy submarines attempting to attack the naval base at Invergordon, but also heading for enemy-occupied Norway to support their resistance movements, and were therefore often involved in mortal combat. My cousin Eleni from Nether Dalkey, now a retired school teacher, then at primary school, used to go to the perimeter of the airfield at Dalkey to count the bullfighters going out and then coming back home, and said very profoundly that she learned to subtract in these days, because fewer would come home than who flew away. My Jim gave his life on the 27th of October 1943, and my story this morning is of a pilot. I believe that you all have, if you came in late, perhaps you can maybe share with those around you. You all have the photograph there of Les Knight, and you can see that there is a Lancaster heading towards one of the dams in Germany. Anyway, my story this morning is of Les, who sacrificed his life a month earlier than my brother did, on the 16th of September of the same year. Les Knight let so many pilots who flew from the Dalkey came from Australia, but he didn't fly bullfighters from Dalkey, but Lancasters from Lincolnshire. And it was interesting that John, our excellent Beadle, said that his mother worked with the Lancasters and got them ready during the war. So it's a story worth telling. We've localized it to our Beadle. And he became one of the famous dambuster pilots, Les did. He was an accountant in Civvy Street. He was a devout Methodist Christian, but also he was warmly human. And his crews totally trusted his steady hands and clear head on the flight deck. On the night of the 16th of May, 1943, It was the bombs that Les Lancaster carried that successfully breached the stubborn walls of the Eder Dam, neutralizing for a vital time the Nazi arms manufacturing in the Ruhr Valley. The Eder Dam was surrounded by hills, so the necessary low-level approach from that for the bouncing bombs needed all Les's skill, as did the Lancasters' return to flying height and home, and these, along with the dam-piercing bomb, Les Knight delivered. But then came the 16th of September. 4 months had passed since Pilot Officer Les Knight's skills had served his plane and his crew, but the threatening hills of Eder he could see. But now, as he flew low over German-occupied Holland on a new mission, thick Dutch mist had hidden a tall tree, and his Lancaster hit the tree. Immediately, he told his crew to bail out, which they did. And now, alone on the flight deck, through the clearing mist, he realized that he was heading towards a little village, a little Dutch village called Denham, and would crash land on it any moment. He must have known then, Les, that his life was nearly over. But could his final act be to save the villagers? So he skewed the dying Lancaster towards a nearby field, where it crashed in a fireball, killing Les Knight instantly. It is deeply moving that Les Knight's self-sacrifice was felt not only by the villagers of Denham, but by the occupying German forces, who buried him with full military honors, firing a volley over his coffin as it was lowered into Dutch soil. If Remembrance Sunday gives us cause to hope as well as to sorrow, it's that it can point, as it did today, to a universal recognition of life-giving courage. No matter where we've come from in the world, there's something deep inside us that recognizes a courage. And that is the great thing about the Christian faith, and it's good to hear the young voices, because I would just want to say to you that if ever you wanted to be moved by anything, be moved by the courage of people. Courage is only needed when there's something to be courageous about. It could be threatening, not always, but we're remembering men and women today who gave their lives. And this is a universal recognition that there is something deep inside. And all I would say to you is, if you wanted one life to think about Christ's life. One of the most courageous men who ever lived, and died at 33, gave his life. Soon, if possible, we will gather at the village war memorial, and we can be sure that in distant Australia, Les Knight's family will have already honoured him, as will the villagers of Holland's Denham, joined again too perhaps by those who were once their enemies. And so before our own congregational remembrance can we sing of that universal hope of world peace to the tune of the Dam Busters, and invite Mike to lead us into God is our strength and refuge, to the tune of the Dam Busters. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please be seated just for a wee minute. I think my sermon must have been shorter than I anticipated, but there's nobody complaining about that, I think. A short sermon is always quite a good thing, as long as it makes its point, which I hope it has, that we owe a lot to so many, and they will be hoping that we will continue with what is needed courageously to bring new life to our world, indeed to our planet. Just to say a little word about what will happen now, and it's lovely to see those who have come just to lay a wreath. I think although it's not yet 11 o'clock, John can still give us his peal of bells, and I would think that really by the time that the peal has finished, we can ask the wreath layers to lay the wreaths, and then I will read out the names of the fallen and give the words of remembrance.
Fred,
Yeah?
could I have a brief word?
Yes?
I failed totally in my welcome. We have with us today representatives from the safety boat in Loss for the first time, and they should be laying a wreath, and we're delighted about that. And West End Adventures, who's become part of our life in the summertime, are with us, and that also is terribly good news. And they will be laying a wreath, so it's a Markham's wreath, then the safety boat, then the West End Adventures, and then I'll lay a wreath on behalf of the session.
Okay.
And finally, I thank you to the pastoral group for all that knitting.
Wonderful, thank you. John, then, we invite you maybe just to lead us with a peal, a bell. Thank you very much indeed. I know it's not quite 11 yet, but it won't be long. Thank you. Well, you want to wait for 11? I was going to take my mouth organ along and play it for you, but my wife said, don't do that. I could have done that, Ellen. She's shaking her head. Maybe very briefly then, because I was asked by Mrs. Hardy, I made a slight reference to my brother. My brother was called Jim. This is just to fill in the time. I never knew him, but what I did know that I was raised onto someone's shoulders when I was just a wee boy, not knowing really what was happening, but with the sensations, as the young people here have, of movement. And this was in Nether Dalachie, beside the airfield where the bullfighters flew out. And I remember being lifted onto someone's shoulders. And this was Jim's shoulders before he went on embarkation leave to go to Italy. And from Sicily, he went with the other Scots Guards, of which he was a member, onto the shores at Salerno. And when Ellen and I went to Italy to find out where he was buried, we thought he had died at Salerno. I remember I was told that the landing was at a place called Battipaglia, and there would be a bus going from Salerno to Battipaglia. So when I got to Salerno, I went into a cafe to say, what time is the bus to Battipaglia? And in very good English, the Italian owner of the cafe said, you have no time to go to Battipaglia. You must get back to catch the bus back to where your hotel is. He went out onto the road and he stopped a taxi. He'd stopped a friend in his car and he said, could you take this guy to his bus? And the incredible thing was that as he drove very, very quickly, like a good Italian driver, he said, you're all right, I get you home, I get you home. He says, where are you from? And I said, Scotland. He said, I been Scotland. I been Duck Bay Marina. And I realized how small the world is. But anyway, the incredible thing, and it's not just quite 11, if I can just continue just for a wee second. Ellen and I still did not realize just where Jim lay. A cousin of mine from Nether Dalachie, and the lovely thing was that when the airfield had to be built at Nether Dalachie, Irishmen came to help build it. Mostly, yep, they were Catholics. And so they fell in love with the Scottish girls, the Protestant girls from Dalachie, and they married, and one of my cousins became a priest in training. He went to Rome and said, there's just nowhere that we can find any reference to Jim. Ellen and I went to Perth one day. We were at Crieff Hydro for a few days. Ellen said, I'd like to do a wee bit of shopping, as women do. I took her to Perth, and as she went in to do her female shopping, I went into Waterston's bookshop, and I pulled out this book called A Scots Guard Officer Remembers Italy, 1943 to 45. I bought the book, leafed through it, recognized I was looking at a name that I knew who was a chaplain, phoned him up. He said, I wasn't a chaplain then. I went with the Scots Guards when they moved into Germany, but in Italy I hadn't been there by that time. But he said, why don't you phone up the author? And so I phoned up this law lord, now retired, William Elliot, and in a very quiet voice, he said, "Yes, can I help you?" And I said, "Mr. Elliot, I'm reading your book. I had a brother who was killed in the war." He said, "Your name?" I said, "My name is Booth. But my brother was Jim Minty." He said, "Guardsman Minty?" I was his platoon commander. And he said, "We came to the river Volturno in September, and the Germans were at that side of the river, we were at this side. There was a mountain called Monte Croce." Just a wee second, John. I'm not meant to tell the story. Oh, well, I will. Can you hear me? The Mount of the Cross. And he said, the Germans let us go up that day, but they didn't let us come down. Your brother was mortally wounded, but he was tough. He lived for 2 weeks. And so I suddenly knew where my Jim lay. And in Minturno Cemetery, that's where he is now. Isn't it interesting that his name was Jim Minty, and the cemetery is Minturno? Thank you very much. Can we stand, please, for the laying of the wreath?
Parish, are you laying on some out?
Men who left Luss and its parish in the First World War but never came home. James Cahoon, Ludovic Cahoon, Ronald Johnston, Archibald Macbeth, Peter McDermott, Walter McDermott, John McGibbon, Walter McInnes, Duncan McKellar, Hugh McRae, William Miller, Archibald McPark, Duncan Cairns. And then in World War II, Robert Hamilton, Alexander Taylor, William Fiskin. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. We will remember them. And now we invite Nick to lead us into I Vow to Thee, My Country. we just stand in remembrance of those who went but didn't come home. We will never forget them. In the stillness, help us to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice. Remaining standing, can I now say our final prayer and invite you to join me in the Lord's Prayer at its end. That is what our wartime forces did, O God. They vowed to their country and ours that they would give their lives to it and for it if need be. And we have remembered this morning those who did, and we are humbled, yet inspired and challenged by their sacrificial courage. Help us also, O God, to combat the stubborn wrongs which continue to threaten our one world. We only need to keep thinking of our Christ to recognize them and take them on. So clearly he saw the entrenched attitudes of the powerful, which kept the poor in their poverty. So keenly he felt for the too many who had too little to maintain health or hope. But so wisely and bravely he chose to right wrong by the ways of peace. He just went to where the needy were to help and heal, but went to where the powerful were to challenge, albeit to challenge them with his life, in order that life might change to be good. And so, O God, as his followers, may our daily prayer be, keep making us like him, keep forming his heart in ours, keep drawing us close to every good cause, challenging wrong, and become its ally, and even think how we ourselves personally or together could imaginatively and persuasively champion his fight against wrong. Because isn't that what he taught us to pray for? Didn't he say that we should pray for your kingdom to come, O God, your transforming ways to be our priority? Yes, you did. And so in earnestness we now pray together and say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory forever. Amen. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you. We now come towards the close of our service. If possible, it would be good if you can join us at the War Memorial. If not, we'll completely understand about that. Just to let you know just how the service will end, we do have the order of service here, and we thank Mike very much for it. And so if you just look at the back page of your order of service, we will sing Behold the Mountain of the Lord, and then there will be the national anthem. There is music for us, and at the end of it, there is 3 verses to the national anthem in the hymn book. We haven't put the 3 verses down, but Donald is going to read for us the very, very beautiful 3rd verse of the national anthem. and then I will pronounce the benediction. And so, Nick, if you can lead us into Behold the Mountain of the Lord. Thank you. Which will be read for us by Don. Okay.
Third verse is, not in this land alone, but be God's mercies known from shore to shore. Let Lord make nations see that men should brothers be, and form one family the wide world over.
Thank you. And now the benediction. May the love of God the Father, the courage of Christ the Son, and the constant help of the Holy Spirit be with us and with all whom we love, wherever they may be and however they may be, this day and evermore. And now we have the threefold Amen. If at all possible, we make our way to the cenotaph. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Just
Thank you very much.